CPIM Kendra Committee സമാപിച്ചതിനു ശേഷം ഇപ്പോൾ ജനറൽ സെക്രട്ടറി സീതാറാം യെച്ചൂരി മാധ്യമങ്ങളെ കാണുകയാണ് തത്സമയം.
I'll release it and speak.
രണ്ടാമത്തെ എഡിഷൻ പ്രസാദനത്തിന് മുമ്പ് തന്നെ മുഴുവൻ വിറ്റുപോയി. അത് മേടിച്ച സംഘടനകൾക്ക് പ്രതികൾ നൽകിക്കൊണ്ടാണ് സീതാറാം ഇത് പ്രകാശനം ചെയ്യുന്നത്.
Come. You also hold. So the second edition of this book has come at a very appropriate time. It has come, the hunt for black money, myth and reality. This has come at a time when our Prime Minister is busy creating a black market for white money. Are you hearing?
No, you sit down.
I was saying that this book has come at a very appropriate time when in the name of combating black money, our Prime Minister is busy creating a black market for white money today by restricting the withdrawals from the banks, etc. And actually nothing of the black money has been really pursued of what is lying abroad. So in that background, this book will be very relevant, and I'm very happy. I believe I'm told that the second edition has already been sold out before being released. So this is very good hot property then, and I'm very happy and glad to have released this book today. Congratulations for your sales. Yes, my dear friends. Sorry for studiously avoiding you for the last 4 days. And that's what we finished, completed our Central Committee meeting successfully. We have taken many important decisions regarding our party and the future of the movement. But the main issue that we discussed, we discussed also many international developments that have an important bearing on India. The election of Donald Trump as the US President and what he proposes to do with many areas which will have a vital bearing for Indians who are seeking to go to the USA either for studies or for employment. There is a great degree of uncertainty on how all this will happen. Apart from that, the developments that are taking place in the world, in West Asia, in Syria, for the first time, you have an agreement on certain issues in Syria which actually leaves out the United States of America. A tripartite and the combination has emerged between Russia, Iran and Turkey. And this is a very significant development. So all these international issues were discussed, but the main issue of discussion was, of course, the question of demonetization and the impact that it is having on the country and the people. The first thing that the Central Committee noted was that none of the 4 objectives that the Prime Minister stated, the reason for demonetization, have been achieved or can be achieved. Black money, corruption, terrorist funding and counterfeit currency. By now, it has been reported that already by last week, 97% of all the demonetized or withdrawn notes have returned back to the banking system. There's time now till the 31st of March for all the NRIs to give back their old notes. All of us were also told, in case you have some old notes lying with you, till 31st March you can go and exchange. But that is not happening. RBI is also refusing. And now RBI has said that it can only be done in Delhi, Bombay or Chennai, not in all the other RBI offices. I don't know what's happening in Trivandrum. Here they are changing. Not yet. No, not here. So these restrictions on the withdrawals still continue. But if all the money that has been withdrawn has come back to the banking system, until 31st March, you have now said NRIs, you've given the exemption to Nepal, to Bhutan, to Dubai, to Singapore. And if all these four countries, all the Indian currency lying there, by 31st March, if all of that comes in, most probably more money will come into the banks than what has been demonetized. What does that mean? Black money has been converted into white. Your counterfeit money has become legal currency. So neither combating black money nor combating counterfeit currency, it has on the contrary been legalized. Terrorist funding combating, since your surgical strikes that took place on September 30th, more than 30 odd Indian Jawans have died in terrorist attacks. The deaths after the surgical strikes for that period is double what it was in last year. So ineffectiveness of the surgical strikes, one aspect. But if you're combating terrorist and terrorist funding, then how is all this happening? Corruption, you've seen the large-scale seizures that have taken place of the new notes. This many new notes could not have come from one bank or one branch. Obviously, large-scale corruption is there, which gave access to this sort of quantum of notes to people where it's been seized. So corruption, terrorist funding, counterfeit currency, black money, none of them have been fulfilled. On the contrary, the lives of the people have become miserable. All across, from agriculture, your agricultural labor, there's reverse migration that is going on now. Labor from Bihar and UP that normally this season would be in Punjab and Haryana in the agricultural operations and have now returned or returning back to their homes because there is no jobs, because there is no cash. Your daily wage employees everywhere, all across the country, they are completely, their livelihood has been shattered. Your Kisan suicides are on the rapid rise. And now this year they've shown that there's been a 32% rise in the distress suicides of our farmers. Farmers are not able to sell their produce, what they cultivated, at the minimum support price because the Food Corporation of India does not have cash to pay them. Your fishermen from Kerala, 9th of November, the first phone call I got was from a Kerala fisherman saying, Sakavu, what should I do with my fish? The people are there to buy them, but they're giving old notes. If I take the old notes, I can't buy provisions for myself to survive. That is continuing all over the place. So perishables where everybody, the life of crores of people have been destroyed. The 50-day limit is over. The money has come back, and yesterday at the BJP National Executive, they claimed that all this money has come back. Now we'll use this money to implement the PM's schemes for the poor. They have claimed that demonetization is a success because the tax revenue has not fallen. The GDP growth rate has not fallen substantially. That is the BJP, National Executive, your Commerce Minister, declared all this yesterday. But you must understand, there is a sleight of hand in this. The budget has been preponed. Normally, the budgetary calculations, when the budget is in the end of February, India, the statistics come every quarter. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, then January, February, March. These are the 4 quarters. If you have budget on the 28th of February, the figures of the 3rd quarter is what is used. 3rd quarter is September, October, November. No, October, November, December. Now, because you advance the budget, your economic survey and the figures used by the government is of the 2nd quarter. The 2nd quarter is the quarter before the demonetization. So the impact of the demonetization has not entered the calculations that the government is parading. And the actual result of that will be seen very soon. And it's already being seen among the vast mass of the people. So we have decided in the Central Committee that there's a 10-point demand charter that we have identified, where the first important thing is withdraw all the restrictions on people's own money that they can take out of their own accounts from the banks and compensate those who have lost their livelihood. At least recognize that more than 100 people died in the lines waiting for their cash in banks and the ATMs. Compensate their families. And on this various issue, you'll find on page 3 of the communique that we have given you, 10 demands, and demands on which CPIM has decided that we will conduct our independent campaign and will appeal to the left parties and the others who agree with these demands to join. So these protest actions, the CPIM has decided that independently, the CPIM will conduct during the month of January a campaign amongst the people exposing the real nature of this demonetization. What is this demonetization for? Now it is clear demonetization is to shift bulk of our economy into a digital economy. Now shifting to a digital economy, all the propaganda is that it will be transparent, it will be accountable. But shifting to the digital economy means greater burdens for the people because every single digital transaction has a transaction cost. And that transaction cost is not there for people when they transact in cash. So this is a bonanza for all these companies. And remember, all your major credit card companies in the world are controlled by 3 basic agencies: Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. Now every single transaction is the commission and the profits will go to them. And all of us pay much more. But more importantly, digital transactions are economy is being encouraged in order not to allow people to withdraw cash, their own money from the banks. The money remaining in the banks improves the health of the bank. 11 lakh crores of loans have been now dispersed to the big corporates in our country. 11 lakh crores. And that is not returning to the banks, which is what we call the non-performing assets or the NPAs. The top 10 corporates in India owe our nationalized banks 7 lakh crores of rupees. This money is not coming back. The banks are in a crisis. Their balance sheets are in the loss making. So if the banks collapse, then the whole Indian financial system collapses and that will have a grave impact. So how do you protect these banks? How should you have protected these financial system? You should have protected by prosecuting those who are not returning the loans. confiscate their property, and get that money back. People's money, your account, my account, money we have there, that is what is loaned out by the bank. But instead of doing that, one industrialist is now in London for the last so many months. I mean, knowing in the parliament, he knew that tomorrow morning his passport is going to be impounded, so he left tonight. He's otherwise a good friend of mine in the Rajya Sabha. We used to meet every day when the session was there. But then he found out in the parliament tomorrow his passport is impounding in his own private jet. He left. Till now you can't do anything to him. So people who have looted the banking system are going scot-free. And top of that, Modi government gave in parliament the commerce minister a written question, written answer. She is given saying that 1.12 lakh crores of rupees worth of these NPAs have been waived off. They have been written off. When we ask for loan waiver for our farmers who are committing suicides, the government says no money. But 1.12 lakh crores of these loans have been written off. So now this financial system that is collapsing because of the loot by our corporate sector or the rich, to protect that financial sector in our country, ordinary people are being denied the right to their own property, that is their own earnings, their own money. This is the actual truth. Now, propping up the financial system in India is also important for international finance capital. So all this dovetails into a strategy whereby the rich are protected and their license to loot is protected at the expense of the poor and the vast majority of people. This is what globally a new term has been coined. It is called the bail-in. In 2008 financial meltdown, we saw the bail-out packages to save the banks. Now the terminology is bail-in. That is, you don't give loans to these financial institutions to bail them out. The financial institutions generate their own money by not allowing people to withdraw their hard-earned money. That is the bail-in process, and that is what Mr. Modi has initiated in India. And that is to protect the rich, and already the hiatus between the haves and the have-nots have widened. So what in our country, when Modi became the Prime Minister, 49% of GDP of India was in the hands of 1%. In these 2 years, this percentage has grown up to nearly 59%. 10% more of the GDP is in the hands of 1%. So therefore, what we are now demanding is immediately withdraw these restrictions. To educate the people on this, CPIM will conduct its own independent campaign, and all our mass organizations will, in their specific sectors and areas, the CITU in terms of your unorganized labor, wage labor, the weekly labor, the agricultural labor union in terms of your agricultural labor. Likewise, in all the sectors, we will, during the month of January, February, unleash a campaign in order to build up, after these round of assembly elections, for a very big nationwide people's protest actions, demanding, apart from demanding these 10 demands that we have listed. And we are also saying it very clearly that on 2 issues, that is, remove restrictions on withdrawals, no coercion to transition to digital economy, or no coercion for making people move to digital transactions. On these 2 demands, we are prepared to go with any political party or any social force that are willing to come on this issue to protest. So this was the major discussion that's taking place, because that's the major preoccupation of India today. Right now, that is the preoccupation of India. And yesterday, talking in the BJP National Executive, Prime Minister Modi called upon all political parties to be transparent and declare their funding. As far as we know, the law of the country is all political parties have to furnish their accounts, and all this is actually given. It's now on the website that is put up. But Mr. Modi is trying to make a virtue of the fact that political parties should declare what is the source of their income. We do. But apart from that, the Prime Minister should be asked, what is the cost of the recent Lucknow rally that you held last week? How much was spent? Where did you get this money from? If the Prime Minister wants the whole country to be transparent, then let him begin it himself. Let him tell the country how his 2014 campaign was financed, who financed it. If he wants this morality, then I've asked him in the Parliament, we ask him now openly, and we are now asking him again today after this meeting, will Prime Minister accept our suggestion to ban corporate donations to political parties? Will the Prime Minister agree that parties' expenditures must be brought under the ceiling for candidates by the Election Commission? If you want to fight political corruption, then you take these two elementary steps. No, what is happening is just mere rhetoric and propaganda, but no concrete measures. So that's why. And then the whole campaign goes on, say, country is losing so much money, we should have parliament elections and state elections together. Now this is patently anti-democratic. Why? In 1952, when Indian election process began, they were simultaneous. Why did they separate? Because every single ruling party in our country, ruling class party, misused Article 356, dismissed elected governments, and when the fresh elections are held, they'll last for 5 years from then. So therefore, the reasons why this mismatch has come must be understood. Secondly, a democracy. All of us can vote for various parties, and maybe a coalition will form the government. For internal compulsions, that coalition breaks off. Like it happened with Devgowda government, Gujarat government in 96. That government falls. There's no other way. You have to go back to the people. So by creating this sort of false thing that India will save money, etc., a very anti-democratic authoritarian step is being mooted, which is essentially goes against the federal character of our constitution. So we have decided in our meeting that on all these issues, we'll take them to the people, we'll organize these movements, and we've discussed also the tactics that we'll adopt in the 5 states where the elections are due. And in all these 5 states, we have decided that the left front, as left front, would independently contest these elections with projecting our point of view, our alternative policies. And UP elections, as you know, are very crucial for the future of our country. So therefore, all our focus of attention would be to defeat the communal forces and the communal combination. So these are the main issues that we discussed, apart from certain organizational issues and matters. The PB Commission on Kerala, their report was placed before the Central Committee. The Central Committee adopted the report, and on that basis, it warned the Comrade V.S. Achuthanandan to abide by party norms and party discipline. And considering the fact that Comrade V.S. Achuthanandan He is one of the founders of the communist movement in our country, one of our veteran leaders. He's been a source of inspiration for many generations of communists, and we wish him to continue to contribute like he's been contributing, but at the same time, being the veteran, being the senior, being the guide to the younger generation. We want him saying that he was adhere to party norms and party discipline. So these are the major decisions, the 4 resolutions that the Central Committee adopted. I think the copies are there with you. You read them? So since they are there with you, so therefore, this is what. So before you start off on Kerala issues, show some national interest. I'm not talking of Modi's nationalism, but I'm saying at least national interest. Ask some national.
The finance minister has just made a statement saying that they're not going to change the budget session dates. So how do you react? Because this will come just ahead of elections.
Well, we've said that all the opposition parties in Parliament have said to change the date of the budget for 2 reasons. Number one, that the budget is being preponed from from January 28 to January 1st. February 28 to February 1st is a decision normally should have been taken in consultation with the opposition in the Parliament. None of us were consulted. And secondly, it is wrong to have this budget come when the election process has already begun. And we've had instances in the past where the budget was postponed because of elections in certain parts of the country. So we had appealed to the President of India and to the government for better sense to prevail. But they seem to be very adamant in going ahead. That, as I explained, is important for them because if they have the budget on the regular day of February 28th, then the statistics for the demonetization months will come out. That won't be convenient for them in the election campaign. So that's why they're insisting and sticking on to this. So let's see.
How are you going to fight that? How are you going to fight that? Because he has just made it clear that there won't be any change.
Well, this is the executive's prerogative. This is the executive's prerogative. So, but we'll have to fight it, both outside the Parliament and inside the Parliament, if the budget contains anything which we suspect can be used as an allurement for voters in this round of election. That is something we will take up, highlight and ensure the government is not allowed.
Sir, you have mentioned that the left front is going to fight the elections in the 5 states. So in Bihar, you did not join the Grand Alliance, and you were criticized that since you contested separately, the BJP won a few seats more. So why are you not joining?
No, I didn't understand the second point. We criticized?
No, you were criticized for fighting it alone, which helped the BJP to win a few more seats. Had you joined the Grand Alliance, BJP would not have got that many number of seats.
Why, if I turn it around and put it saying, if we had not fought the election campaign independently, then the vote that came to the left would not have gone to either Mr. Lalu Prasad or Mr. Nitish Kumar, because between the two of them, they have a 15-year anti-incumbents. Lalu and Nitish together have been ruling the state for 15 years, separately together. All that anger, popular anger against that, on that anti-incumbency score, if we were not there in the race, would have gone against them, means they would have gone to the BJP. So far from saying BJP would have got less seats, I think they could have got more seats. So election speculation is not going to. Point is that we are there trying to say, we are not going to the people saying that we'll form a government or we'll be part of a alternative. What we are saying is that electing left representatives is the only way in which people can ensure that their own problems and their concerns are articulated in the assembly, and we can fight on those issues. That is the plank on which we are going.
So in Punjab you have Aam Aadmi Party, and the left parties also have a sizable strength in various districts in Punjab. Do you think wherever the left is not putting up its candidates, there is a possibility of some kind of understanding with Aam Aadmi Party?
Well, let's see, the Aam Aadmi Party has to be clear themselves. I mean, there's been greater cooperation between them and the left in the last few weeks and the last few months, particularly in Delhi, etc. But Aam Aadmi Party has to clarify its own positions on two important issues. Where does it stand in terms of the new economic policies and the hardships that are being imposed on the people? Except for this demonetization, the Aam Aadmi Party has not come up against any other policy. Number two, what is their commitment and willingness to continue the fight against communalism? These two issues, a greater clarity is required from them. So we hope it will come. We have no problem. In Delhi elections also we have said, where the left is not contesting, we said you vote for the Aam Aadmi Party. So that we will still do, I mean, independently. But let's see what will emerge in terms of coalition.
Comrade, let me ask some questions on your organizational matters. What is the faction of the Comrade V.S. Sitaram? Have you visited any committee for him?
Yes.
What is it?
Comrade V.S. Sitaram is an invitee to the Central Committee and he speaks in the Central Committee. Comrade V.S. Sitaram is an invitee to the State Committee. Henceforth, we told him when he asked us, what is my party forum? So we said, your party forum is the State Committee. You can articulate your views there, you can say what you want to say there. But State Committee is the place where you should say, not outside. So this has been discussed with Comrade V.S. and only after that I'm announcing now.
In the State Committee, he's only an invitee.
I'm sorry?
In the State Committee, he's only an invitee.
Yes, he's an invitee, but invitee can speak except for voting.
Yeah, that's it.
Invitee can do everything. And don't worry, the CPIM State Committee in Kerala will not come to such a pass that you require one vote of years to decide. And that situation won't come. So don't.
In Central Committee, you made V.S. Sitaram as a special invitee because of his age bar. And what is the criteria for making him in the State Committee special invitee?
Again, you see, the State Committee also is already been an invitee. In the Secretariat, he cannot go because of the age bar. In the Central Committee, we have relaxed the age bar of 80 for invitees. Because there are some very important veterans who are founders of the party. So we want to gain from their experience and wisdom. So we have said, no age bar in the Central Committee for invitees. But otherwise, Central Committee membership, the same age bar is there.
And this, then what is the criteria for then what is the criteria for this state invite to the State Committee? And that's what he's asking.
At that point of time,
Yeah.
why do you ask me that question at that point of time? Yeah?
No, now we are asking that. That is, you are decided to invite him to the State Committee as an invitee. What is the criteria of that decision? That we are asking that. Please criteria.
Yeah, criteria always goes by the contribution, how many years that he's contributed to the movement, what has been his ideological, political contributions. And each one of these criteria, VS scores high.
We are beating around the bush. We are not coming to that right answer. Because
Right answer I can come if you ask the right question.
yeah, I'm asking the right question. Because what is the criteria for this incident being an invitee to the State Committee? Because in the Central Committee there is an age barrier of 80. What is this criteria for the State Committee?
Not only the age bar of 80 in the Central Committee, that is where I'm saying you're not asking the right question. In the Central Committee, it is not because of the age bar that we have invitees. In the Central Committee, there is a certain number for each state that is there. We want to promote the younger comrades from there for the future. Once that number is filled, a veteran from that state cannot be in the Central Committee. It's not age bar. So for that veteran and for the entire Central Committee to gain from that experience, they have made a CC invitee. So that's the wrong question. The invitees are not only because of age bar. Invitees are because of various other factors. And the basic reason is that comrades who have devoted their whole life, who have immense experience, which is a very valuable thing for the younger generation. So for such people, we invite them. Comrade B.S. Achyutanandan has been an invitee to the State Committee. When people say what will be his party forum in Kerala will be the State Committee. If he has anything to say, he should say in the State Committee and not outside.
The question is clear. Why was he not included in the State Committee? As a full member. Yeah.
Only conferences include, no. Again, the conference you elect the committees. Why do you talk in the past tense? Huh? you're taking the... Exactly. Huh? Well, you see, the left parties can give a lead for an alternative, but an alternative has to be a political alternative based on a certain political program and political perspective. You cannot have an alternative of a Jamburi, like, let's say, the West Bengal Chief Minister suggested yesterday. He says, instead of Mr. Modi as the Prime Minister, with Advani as the Prime Minister, have a national government. Both belong to the same party. These are hodgepodge. That's not what the left would want is a very clear-cut policy alternative. There has to be policy alternative. And only then will it be sustainable. In
mentioned West Bengal Chief Minister in Kerala, one of the CC member and former minister, Mr. P.P. Jayaran, the villains registered a case against him, affair against him. Have we discussed this matter with the CC and what is the party's position regarding this?
Yes, the matter was taken up in the CC. The party is very clear. The Central Committee was told very clearly that trends like nepotism or favoritism, these are trends that are alien to the communist philosophy and to a communist party. The question of Comrade E.P. Jayarajan and Srimati came, but the FIR being filed and a court case being imminent now, in that background, we have said this is not the time to proceed on this because whatever we do will prejudice the judicial process. So we have asked the Central Committee, has asked the Kerala State Committee to inquire about this entire matter and give us a report for consideration on this matter at the next Central Committee meeting.
That means there will be a party commission.
Well, I cannot... you are always, media is always more competent than we are in terms of saying what will happen. So that you can definitely go on saying. But all I can say is we will wait for their input that will come, what the Central Committee decided, and we'll take up the matter in the next meeting.
What is the need of an inquiry? It's very explicit.
Who talked? He talked about an inquiry, and then you ask me what is the need for an inquiry. See, this is the problem with all of you. I said we are asking the Kerala State Committee to submit a report to us on this matter, and then that will for the Central Committee's consideration before the next meeting. So we are cognizant of the issue, we've taken cognizance of the issue, but the time in which this happened, because while the Central Committee was meeting, the FIR was filed. So that's why we said now that will prejudice, so we'll take up the matter subsequently.
Sir, you have a minister in the state government here, now second accused in a murder case, Mr. M.M. Mani. So you always hold a high moral ground. So what is your stand on that? You know, because it is the first time a minister will have to stand in the court.
You see, we continue to hold the moral high ground. It's not that we were not holding. We will continue to hold the moral high ground. But again, the same point emerges as far as MM Mani is also concerned. And that is, the court case is on. Any action now taken by the party or the government, we can contribute and be prejudicial to the outcome of the case. So we are saying as a party, let that court proceeding, the case conclude. Then you will see, what we'll do.
Why is that you have a different benchmark? When in the last government's time, 2011 to 2016, there were numerous protests. Just because they were not an accused, it was only an allegation. You were demanding the resignation of several ministers. Now your own minister is an accused. Now you say you will wait for the court.
All those cases on which we have demanded, all what we have demanded in the past, are all issues of corruption. Criminal charges are cases that are put against political workers, maybe for genuine reasons, mostly for non-genuine reasons, for political reasons. I don't know, I had a case of dacoity on me. So what do you? So from the time of the student movement till when the governments changed, these cases are dropped. So every one of us, when is normally picked up, we are picked up under some criminal charge.
If you say allegation of corruption, then your own minister, Masikuti Amma, is now facing corruption charges.
Yeah, that will have to be.
There's a quick verification going on.
Yeah.
So
Hurling charges is different from actually confirming prima facie whether there is a corruption charge. That process is on for Masikuti Amma. Let that happen, then you will see.
you were saying about the previous government's time.
But they are all the prima facie, they were all there. So here the prima facie has to be established yet.
Already spoke at length about demonetization. Will the CPIM take the initiative to convene a conclave of non-BJP chief ministers? Because many of the state government chief ministers have raised their voice. Will there be such an initiative from the CPIM?
Well, we are exploring that possibility. Some groundwork has been done. There are two issues involved. One is on the GST that is coming up. There, the GST Council, all the state finance ministers are there. But there's a problem because many states have reported because of demonetization, the state revenues will take a big hit. Kerala finance minister has estimated a 25% loss for Kerala revenues this year. Now, if that is the case, then many things have to be recalculated. Not only the GST rates, but many things have to be recalculated. The states will have to be provided assistance in order to tide over this sort of. On these issues, we are consulting with the other opposition governments, and soon I think some sort of a concerted effort will emerge. We are in the midst of talking.
So when TNC MP was arrested in connection with the chip fund scam, the chief minister has said that it's been vendetta politics that the BJP is playing because he stood against demonetization. What's your stand on this? They had taken a whole protest march to Delhi to the PM's residence and all that. How does the CPIM see this and what?
Listen, this whole issue of the CBI pursuing the case of Rose Valley, of Sharda, of Narda came from a directive of the Supreme Court. This directive of the Supreme Court was there in 2014. Now, since the Modi government came, that directive in the CBI did not pursue this matter the way they should have pursued it. That is why our charge was that Modi and Mamata are playing in tandem. And their politics also suits them in tandem. One caters to the Muslim minorities, the other caters to Hindu majority communalism. That suits them. So now I think the CBI in the process of finally, it fructified. It has come. So this is part of a 2014 Supreme Court ordered CBI probe. Nothing to do with this demonetization.
So you're saying that Mamata Banerjee's claims are all false, then? Saying that it's made up of false.
You draw your conclusion. All that I can say is this: the claim that this has got to do with demonetization is not correct. This is a 2014 Supreme Court direction.
Regarding UP, you said you will try, the CPIM will try to defeat communal forces. You never said you will fight against Congress. You said fight against communal forces.
I have to.
Is there a chance of going with Mahagathbandhan? Is there any chance of Mahagathbandhan?
No, there is no chance of any Mahagathbandhan, including us there. But remember, fighting Congress, in Kerala I fight Congress. In UP, what a magnifying glass, I have to find Congress to fight. You have to have the Congress there, no? So we are saying that we will do our independent campaign, and the major threat in UP is the communal forces. Right?
Sir, in Kerala, all the IAS officers are on strike tomorrow. For the first time in the history of Kerala, opposition has stated that it indicates the total failure of the ruling plan. How do you view this?
Well, I think the Prime Minister the Chief Minister is currently in discussions with them. And there should be some solution by the time we all leave the building.
Sir, BJP MP Sakshi Maharaj, after the Supreme Court order, has made claims about population boom because of a certain community, and case has been registered, but so far no arrest has been made on this. So, your comment?
Well, we want the case that has been registered to be pursued in right earnest. And if it's pursued in right earnest, arrest must be made.
Sir, there's one more criticism that the CPIM in an unprecedented move has actually had your central committee meeting in a five-star hotel. The first, and you are moving away from your own set.
5-7. Well, you see, the logistics and the costing that is worked out, the state committee has told us, was much less expensive than what we would have had done if it was elsewhere. And anyway, the host committee always hosts us.
But Congress says you're deviating from your own line, saying that we are the party of the masses, states and live simply in a simple life, now having a five-star committee.
No, you see, it's not a question of showing for showing's sake. What costs us less is what we have utilized. That is what the state committee has informed us. Right, thank you very much.